You know those times where there's a decision to make, big decision, a life decision. We go in this way or this way, relationships, jobs, situation, location, things like that, where there's a decision to make. And the round and round in the mind is going round and round as it does. Um, there's only one way through that. There's only one way around that, and it's to not go in the round and round, or not kind of make your decision amidst the round and round. The round and round will be taking place and doing what it does, but ultimately, here at the heart is the place to make the decision. What is the heart saying? Where does the heart want to go? And it's not why. It's not a why. It's not, it's yes because of this, and this is like, no, because it's like, that's the mind. The heart's a yes or a no. And you can tap into that. You can tap into that yes or no, whatever the heart is saying. And then the mind will come in with the doubts, like, what it is, like, the logic comes in, right, trying to make it make sense, like, well, why would I do that, blah, 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 like, and of course, there's a place for that. But ultimately, when there's no escape from that round and round, when there is no clear answer, the logic can provide, because it's just like, oh, well, yes, because of this, but I'll never know because of that, and like, oh, but this, and then, oh, but that, and it's like, when there's no actual, just clear, logical, like, right, this is the way to do it, and this is why it makes more sense to go that way. If the mind is just round and round, yeah, but this, oh, what is it? It's the heart. It's the heart's decision to make. And you might not like it. Sometimes, sometimes the mind and these different parts of you, do you mean that might not be the easiest, might not be the most simple decision. There can be a lot of things to deal with if you follow that yes or that no. But ultimately, you have to go that way. You have to follow the heart. Not following the heart, I'm sure you know the kind of situations, relationships, jobs, whatever, blah, 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 you end up stuck in or caught up in, where you're going against yourself, you're going against that knowing within you, the kind of experience that creates within you as a result of that. Oftentimes, in that situation, we'll then just try and distract ourselves from that. We'll try and ignore that truth, ignore that reality. That's no way to live. Like, well, this life is a bountiful adventure, and to stay stuck in one place where you shouldn't be stuck, and having to then trying to manage the consequences of that decision, and that like inability to just go where you know to go. That's no way to live this life. That's a waste. That's a tragedy to squander the opportunities that this life presents us with by not following the heart. I've been sort of in a period this last maybe 4 or 5 days questioning a lot of things in my life, everything really, and my kind of situation and where to go from here, and the idea of moving somewhere had come up. Interesting how it came in. It wasn't even an idea really, it was just coming in, like that's the thing to do out of nowhere. So I've been sitting with that, letting that kind of settle, see how it felt after a couple sleeps on it. And the heart's very much a yes, and there's a lot of doubts, there's a lot of like round and round coming with that. But I've seen enough to know that if that is what the heart is saying, if that is the answer I find in stillness, because this is the thing with it as well, right? It's like stillness. What is the answer when you are still? That's the place to make the decision. caveat to that is obviously sometimes, like, if there's parts of us that are unconscious, different fears, beliefs, feelings that we haven't integrated into our experience of self, if those remain unconscious, they can be kind of influencing these things, right? Our gut instinct can sometimes actually just be an unconscious fear or belief that we have that is kind of, yeah. So it's interesting. So I've been having to question that, like, is there anything underneath this? Like, because I'm very aware of the part of me that just wants to run away sometimes and not deal with things. And certainly there's plenty going on at the minute for me to trigger that reaction in me. And that has been happening. But this felt like something different, which then the part of me wants to run away has then jumped on, attached itself to, but it feels like something different. But like, yeah, as I say, there can sometimes be other things underlying what you feel in your heart. Like, I've experienced that before. I ended a relationship before because it felt right. Like, you know, I was like, no, I know. But turned out months later, I found out it was just like this unconscious, like, fear and belief that I don't deserve love, and so I'm trying to push it away. And like, so there could be that at play again. Ultimately, you can only do what you can do. You can only be conscious of what you're conscious of. You can make efforts to kind of explore, is there something I'm unconscious of that is kind of driving this? Yeah. And so I'm in that process. But yeah, at the minute, what I'm still getting in my heart and in my stillness is a yes. And there's no reason, essentially, that I can think of. Like, I can think of why it might be a good idea, but there's no, like, in terms of what do I really want, like, but for some reason it just feels like, yeah, that's what we're doing. And it feels like it has some momentum. It feels like there's a current taking me that way. And for me, at least, I will always follow that. Like, you know, I've learned more to let logic come into play and to let that have a seat at the table. But ultimately, it always sits behind just what is the heart saying. And there's times, as I said, where logic is the best way to kind of make a decision. But as I said, when it's just, there is no logical kind of sensible kind of, is this or that, like, when it's just round and round and round and there's no way out of that. There's no way to kind of like think your way out of that if it's just back and forth, but this, but that, but what if, then it's the heart for me. Then it's the heart. Yeah. But yeah, also funny because, as I said, there can be unconscious parts of you that are driving that. So it's a tricky one, but it's all part of the learning, I guess, right? It's all just part of the journey, the unfolding, the becoming. But as a kind of just base, the baseline, like, would you fall on? What do you resort to? What is the kind of like, I don't know the word I'm looking for, but for me it's the heart. Where does the heart want to go? We'll see.